Hey guys, welcome back to part three on the war on drugs debate that me and Gage are having here. This is the Justice for All podcast, and Gage was just going over about how the Reagan administration, the war on drugs there, how he implemented that, and then he went on to mention about destroying poppy seed fields of our current president and how he's been handling his part on the war on drugs, and then also how these things still continue. So I will go on and say that there's some good points, and that I think we can do that. I'm for that. Good. Yeah, I'm not trying like I'm saying. I'm not trying to encourage these things. All I'm saying is preventive maintenance and regulation. Hey, I just think if we're all about freedoms and things, why not? Let's let truly be free. I'm really for. You know, I just don't know, man. Like, I just don't think it's still for me to say this or that or the other. Now, here's the thing. I'm all for this, though. I'm for cutting down on the crime, and I'm for, people not, doing these things. I really don't want people on heroin. I don't want people on meth or anything like that. That's definitely not my intention. And I'm sure there's people that think I'm a pothead, but that's all fine. But I'll tell you this, marijuana pays my bills. And I can't do that everywhere else. And I'm so appreciative for the opportunities I have had, and I see that, and I'm just like, if we really want, to progress, we pride ourselves as a progressive nation all the time, really, if we want to progress, I think we need to just get out of the Bible era, man. Like, I hate to say, like, it's not all about Christianity anymore, or religious belief. I'm not saying this is what this is about or anything like that. But that's like usually the argument. And then as far as like morally, okay, fine. If we put those things aside and we just educate ourselves, and I think I used like my job and then my experiences with the marijuana industry as a launching pad for like all these things, because I'm saying like you don't need, poppy seeds don't need also to be made, for drugs. There's good things for that, and cocaine, I'm sure there's good things for cocaine and, all those things. There's good things for these things. We could use drugs in other research too. Maybe there's a lot about meth we don't know because we see all these evil things. And, how long for the longest, how long in this history, in our history, have did it take before we knew all the facts about marijuana, and we just now kind of learned, and we know a lot of what we've been told is a lot of bull, honestly, for marijuana, for instance, there's a lot more good than bad, and I'm just interested to think like, why not do some more research on heroin use, or educate ourselves on meth use and how that affects us, positively and negatively, because people do these things and, they abuse them. But, I'd be anxious to see, I'm not saying, again, I'm not saying there's good meth. There might not be, but we don't know because we don't test it, or things like that. And I do know we've ran some things on psychedelics, and like I mentioned before, and I know science can back this up. There are some good things for your mind that some psychedelics present, and then there's also some bad things. And again, you can overuse, but like I said, the balance or finding in between. There are definitely some spiritual, like, honestly, when I'm stressed out or I think I need some guidance in life, a good shrooms trip, like I mentioned before, is honestly something that is, it's eye-opening. It's hard to explain. It's just something you personally go through, but you have to prepare yourself. And I think, honestly, without some of those things, those experiences, I wouldn't have had some answers in my life, man. And I'm really grateful for that. So I just think, again, yeah, I'm all about eliminating, threats, or the gang violence, things like that. That's all fine. But again, I think if we just regulate and legalize it, we'll cut down on those things naturally too. And then we can regulate, create, and, maintain, and also, defend ourselves against repercussions, also. So.
Yeah. Those are good points.
That's what I like to hear, Gage.
First, I have a rebuttal.
I know. I was like, okay, that's the end of the podcast, guys. Have a good week.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. is.
He's like, yes.
Okay. There's a video of him on YouTube. He does some series. I forget what it's called, but it's not any of the cooking series. It's him like actually going to different like hotels and stuff, I guess. But it might be Hotel Hell. But there's one where he goes to in like Central America, and he actually meets these guys that are like making cocaine, and he like learned the process of making cocaine, and literally these guys are like, they have empty barrels. They take freaking like shredded up cocoa leaves basically, and like dump gasoline on them and like mix them together. Like it's some like messed up stuff, and like just to think about what you're ingesting or snorting or whatever, it's like that's pretty messed up.
Right.
And,
I mean, but is it different than like the shit we're eating or anything like that? It's just more delayed, or the water like right, like come on, like, and at least people are knowing.
If I learned that my hamburger was doused in gasoline.
Okay, but you learn that your hamburger is like 92% beef, but I'm just kidding. Yeah, I don't know. I'm just kidding. No. That's another podcast.
But the second point to your your psychedelic point, like psychedelic drugs, those are the ones I'm probably a little more lenient on. But the only objection I would have to them would be that they're uncontrollable, basically.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you're tripping for 6 to 9 hours, and like you said, you could have a good spiritual trip, or you could have a really nasty, bad trip where, people have killed themselves because, different trips that they've had.
Honestly,
they thought everything was so lifelike and they committed suicide. And if you if you make those legal and make it easier to get, you might put it into the wrong hands of somebody that's, 17, 18, their parents have it laying around on their table or whatever because, they're legal age to buy it. And then they end up trying it one night, have no idea what to expect, and end up, freaking the fuck out.
Well, it's like the parents leaving their liquor cabinet open or the cigarettes out, But here's the thing.
If you take a drink or smoke a joint, it's a little different than tripping for 9 hours.
Okay, but hold on a second. Hold on. Okay, those are all right points. I see what you're saying, but shouldn't the parents be responsible? Like, I would certainly hope if we were able to sell narcotics like that legally, I would certainly hope, like I said, you'd have to have some kind of course or response. But that's what I mean. Hopefully. Yeah, hopefully people will learn safety. Like, that's what I'm saying. Like, we teach people.
Yeah, I think you're putting too much faith in.
Yeah, I get it. Well, I mean, we're theory,
in a public world, yes, but
yeah, but I mean,
they would educate their kids about it.
The Netherlands, like I said, the Netherlands do these things, and they're they've learned. Like I said, and it's going to take us a while, yeah, but we will mature. Change is slow, always has, always will be, But here's also a thing with okay. Do you want? Okay, go ahead, make your point first. Go ahead. Sorry.
Okay. Well, the thing is about the Netherlands too that they have more funding to do this kind of stuff. I mean, our funding is in completely different places in this country, and I mean they're also the size of Massachusetts, so it's easier to implement.
Well, that's fair. Okay. Well, here's the thing that okay, we can talk about this too. We can change the funding. The funding in this country is completely awry. I really think we should be, why don't we just, we could talk about that another time too. But I'm just saying we could delegate things to make it more like you could put money into that, and make it to where it can be a successful program, even for a country our size. And I'm just saying make it federally legal and then let the states decide if they want to. Why not that? Mainly I'm all for states' rights, but I'm just saying if you just let it all out and then let the states decide, okay, well, everything's legal federally, but maybe in Indiana you can only buy weed and we're going to stop at weed, and that's the state law there. In the states should have the right to do that. I'm saying like we could do that, but I'm just saying you're not going to go to jail also in Indiana if you have a heroin needle. Like they're just not going to sell it to you, and that should be so. That's all I'm kind of, that's all I'm saying about that. Now back to what you're saying with the psychedelics. I think, like I said, I mean, honestly, I was a teenager and I did it, okay, But like that's the thing. If you educate yourself going in with the right mindset, more times than not, it's gonna be positive. The thing where you get the bad trips and the thing, and I've had bad trips. I'm gonna be the first to say. But here's the thing. That's when I was early on, still learning, and I went in with my first trip. I was afraid, and I had like, oh, what if I keep tripping for hours? And that's not a good way. You've got to clear your mind. You've got to have that right mindset. And I think, like I said, if you stress the education of it and people learn how to, like, okay, they know, like, when you take shrooms, you have to be like this, calm, cool, calm, and then you'll have a good trip. Because if you go and freaking out, that's when you have the problems. And you have the problems because people aren't educated about that. You see what I'm saying? It's a cause and effect. It's a cause.
Yeah.
So it's just like, that's what I'm saying. And then even with the,
in a point
well,
that, like, the education needs to be
well,
worked
yeah,
on
and
as
then
well.
even if okay, so after we educate our people, going back to what you're saying, like, oh, what if the kid gets the meth pipe, or they get the shrooms, and then they're freaking out. That's on the parent, That's when, again, education. You got to teach the parents to be like, okay, if you're going to do the meth, isolate yourself. Isolate yourself. But that's what I'm saying. I'm saying. I'm saying let's see what happens, because we're still, like I said, we're still going to have these problems. And right now we have those problems anyway. Illegally, people are still, like, the heroin, could get to Junior because their dad is OD'd on the couch or whatever. That could still happen right now. So if we put those programs in place, and we allow, we teach the adults of the house, all right, if you're going to do a little hit of meth, here's the proper way to store it, or here's the time it takes, for you to feel effects, and just make sure it's out of reach of children, just like you would alcohol or anything else. And again, I don't know about, like, meth or heroin as much, or things like that, or, I mean, I know a little bit about cocaine. I'm just saying you could do a bump of coke and keep it away from Junior, or I don't know about the others, but I'm saying, like, you can still do preventive maintenance, and it would still be no different than how it is now. Or, Junior getting a hold of, oh, Junior's got the weed, or Junior's got the pills, or whatever, because you still have those problems either way, even if they're regulated. You still have the problems regardless. So really, you just have to stress the education and just hope it doesn't happen. And if it does happen, we need to have that funding and the things in place to help prevent, and then if Junior gets a hold of these things, what do we do? And have a system where, okay, we can take them to this place and they know exactly how to deal with it, and then say why. We could, it's a system, and I think if we had the right things in place, it could work. I really do.
Yeah, well, and the problem is, too, like, you look at, like, say, the DARE program in schools and stuff like that. The way that they're educating these kids is wrong.
Yeah, I
It's
completely
flat out
agree
wrong.
with that. I agree with that.
You look at, the way that they talk about alcohol, the way that they talk about marijuana, stuff like that. If you smoke one joint in your entire life, your brain is going to melt out of your head. If you drink one beer, you're going to get
that. What's funny
die.
about that? I saw this meme. It was so funny. I saw this meme the other day, and it said, it was a picture of a guy on a brick wall, like in one of those middle school video-looking dudes with a joint in his hand, and it said, I wish that strangers would offer me weed like middle school health videos said they would. That's one of my favorite ones. But no, you're right, and I'm saying educating
and like they teach all these things that are, flat out lies, and then these kids try alcohol, they try marijuana, and then they're like, hey, this isn't so bad.
Yeah.
And then they, obviously the harder drugs they need more warnings about, like heroin and meth.
Mm-hmm.
And then, they progress up the ladder sometimes and end up doing those because they were taught in the first place, like, everything that they were taught about alcohol and marijuana was a lie.
Right.
And then they might think that everything else
so heroin's a lie, exactly. Yeah.
Whenever it's not as much.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I think
so they end up trying it, and then,
I agree with what you're saying. I think, the educating of these things shouldn't be to demonize these substances, but to truly, like, say, okay, well, with weed. Here's what to expect. Here's, what you should use. Here's when you should use, and then we're gonna move on. Here's heroin. Here's the uses for. Here's pros, cons. Here's, I think that's how we should handle it. We shouldn't say don't do heroin ever. Don't do if we're gonna have it all legal. I agree there, but and then even with it being illegal.
Even if you leave it illegal.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. Even if you leave it illegal, still don't demonize. More so, well, if you encounter heroin, here's what to expect. Not heroin's evil. Actually, don't do weed because that's evil. You know what I mean? Like, and
It's just the way they treated sex and stuff like
yeah,
that.
so I agree there.
The only way is abstinence. And
Yeah, the only way is to just never.
It's not a realistic approach.
Yeah, the only way to never smoke a joint is never, associate yourself with shady
Don't
people.
ever pick it up.
Yeah, exactly.
Not
Shady
even
people in the
once.
alleyway. And it's just like, that what kind of narrative is that? So I appreciate the things you have been saying, and you do raise some good points, but honestly I don't know. I don't think you changed my mind though on this, buddy. We've been friends for years, but we do disagree sometimes,
you didn't
but
change my mind.
I know. But we did have a good, I think we both brought up some good intellectual points, and that's really what we're trying to do, stimulate some thinking here. So, we're getting close to that time. So, do you have any final thoughts for us, Gage?
Meth, not even once.
Oh, come on.
This was it. Yeah, come on. No, I mean, I think this was a good debate.
Yeah.
It was very, informative on both sides.
Sure.
It's what I like about, definitely us being friends is that, we can have civilized debates without sitting there name calling, saying, "Oh, you're an idiot for believing this." Or,
Right.
Fuck you.
Yeah. Exactly, and that's why I like to, and I think it's good to have those kind of conversations, and also, if we provide some perspective, you learn some things, and you kind of take in other variables, and maybe even enhance your knowledge a little bit, it gets me thinking a little. I like it.
Solve problems in this country is by talking.
Exactly. So, I think it was a really good conversation. I agree. I like this podcast. Well, that's about it for us, guys. Again, we talked about drugs. I'll go over some points. I pretty much wanted everything to be legal. It should be regulated. We should teach everybody about it. Engage here things such as just stop at weed, maybe psychedelics, and that we should still teach our kids about it and lessen up maybe jail sentences and crimes as far as like busting the guy with the gram of weed, those kind of things. We need to buckle down more on the dealers, and those are some good points too. So you listen to the part 1 and part 2 of this war on drugs debate me and Gage has had, and again, thanks for tuning in this week. You guys are awesome. I appreciate, again, we appreciate all the feedback we have been getting, and keep it coming, guys. Also provide some comments on what you guys want to hear us talk about, because we'll pretty much talk about anything. And if any of you guys would like to be on the podcast, just shoot us a message on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube. We have it all. Again, this is the Justice for All podcast with Gage and Randall, and we appreciate it again. Yeah, thanks, guys. So we'll see you next week.
Yep, bye, guys.
All right.